What's happening, fam? John here from AF Anime, back with another One Piece related video, and today I want to talk about whether or not Luffy may become a killer by the end of the One Piece story. However, before we get into things, if you guys wouldn't mind, go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, as it would help out with the channel's growth and also let me know to set aside more time to create videos like this. Moving along though, before we talk about Luffy, we do have to accept the general idea that shonen MCs typically do not kill their enemies or their opponents no matter how bad they are. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying that shonen manga and anime stay away from their MCs killing their opponents or their villains, but it does happen on occasion, but most often it's outside circumstances or even self-inflicted circumstances that lead to said death. So Luffy is the shonen MC in question here, but if you take him and put him alongside two of his big three colleagues in the form of Naruto and Ichigo, then we only have one confirmed kill between the three, and that kill goes to Ichigo, who killed Genjo in his respective arc. So with that stat in mind, it should be fairly obvious that this is an intentional trend when it comes to shonen main characters. However, is it possible that Luffy himself might add to that body count before the One Piece series is ended? So in this video, I'm going to talk about three characters I believe could die at the hands of Luffy, and I'll explain why I think they should. Now, I know that in the past, Oda said that Luffy does not need to kill his enemies because most often their defeat is embarrassment enough for them to be shamed into either changing their beliefs or their thoughts on whatever their disagreement was about. However, with two characters on this list in particular, I don't think that that would be an issue because these are characters who probably wouldn't take it personally if they were defeated at any point in time. They actually have goals or tasks in mind that aren't about them being the strongest or most powerful. Rather, having strength or power is relative to the goals that they want to achieve. So more on those two characters in a bit. For now, I'll start off with the one character who could die at Luffy's hands but is least likely to, and that is going to be the Fleet Admiral Akainu. Now, there are a couple reasons that Akainu could die at Luffy's hands, the first and most obvious of which, and probably the most satisfying to fans, would be just strictly for the revenge of him killing Ace. And look, I know that would be incredibly satisfying to those of us who had some type of feels when it came to Ace dying in Marineford, but the truth is, Ace gave his life to save Luffy. I don't think Akainu was actually in the process of trying to kill Ace when Ace died, so it was more of a sacrifice than a murder. Also, another reason that revenge doesn't necessarily fit as a reason for Akainu to die, it's because we don't see Luffy actually mentioning Akainu in a negative capacity or even saying that he has a grudge or wants revenge. So I think we can safely say that revenge is not a dish that Luffy is going to serve out. The only way I think it would happen is if Luffy blacks out or goes into some kind of rage and kills Akainu for his previous transgressions. Now, Luffy fighting while unconscious or blacking out or going into a fit of rage is not really a thing when it comes to him going up against his opponents, but there is one other reason that Akainu could die at the hands of Luffy, and that is his sense of justice. Now, his absolute justice has become a bit more endearing since we've seen that he can butt heads with the world government, as he just wants the world to be free of pirates in a kind of misguided understanding of what they do and how they operate. But he doesn't care for the world government and their desire to be influential and to hold power. Now, as much as Akainu may have been hated by the fandom when it comes to Marineford, it seems like these redeeming qualities have been a little bit more prevalent since the time skip. And to that end, I think Luffy would also find these qualities to be quite good. However, it still could be that his absolute justice could put him and Luffy in a situation where they have to fight each other to the death. And seeing that his absolute justice is such that it does not afford him any kind of sympathy or goodwill towards pirates, it is likely that him and Luffy will cross paths again, and whether or not he is changeable will depend on if and when Luffy does have to kill this character. So again, number 3 does go to Fleet Admiral Akainu, but I do not believe this to be likely at all. Now, for the next two characters who could potentially fall under Luffy's body count, they are much more likely to meet their end at Luffy's hands for a multitude of reasons. And while I did find it very easy to put these two on Luffy's potential hit list, it was a little bit difficult for me to decide which two of these characters are more deserving of a death by Luffy. And although it was tough to decide, ultimately the number 2 spot for most likely to be killed by Luffy is going to go to Imsama, Im, however you want to refer to them. They are the person who is at the head of the world government, the most powerful person in the world, the highest ranking person in the world, and probably the biggest villain of the One Piece world. Now, ultimately, Luffy has no reason to kill this character personally, as even though Imsama is probably wanting to kill Luffy, he hasn't directly crossed Luffy in any way as far as we know. And while Luffy is no fan of the world government, he isn't directly gunning for them in particular. The only reason I say that Imsama is likely to die at Luffy's hands, if at all, is due to the nature of the character who's in that position of power. Imsama is at the very top of an enforced pyramidal economy and kingdom structure, and for that to be the case, that means that he has to restrict the freedom of other people, which Luffy absolutely would be against. And while the celestial dragons may come across as obnoxious and worthy of death, for the most part they're just ignorant people who were raised to be that way. Imsama, however, very clearly knows what they're doing, and in reference to this whole cleansing concept, although it isn't fully spelled out for us, we can either assume that this whole cleansing concept is about mass genocide, or it's even about killing off certain influential people for Imsama's own selfish control. So, with all that, I think we have two reasons that Imsama and Luffy could come to killing blows. The first of which, and most obvious, is that Imsama is the big bad of the One Piece world in terms of affecting everyone as a whole, and as such is deserving of death. But we also have the reasoning that he's just the key to overthrowing the world government, and not so much that he is just the big bad. The world government is obviously a very negative influence on the One Piece world, and I don't see the story ending in a happy way where the world government survives. So if Luffy were going to kill someone, Imsama is absolutely at number 2 and is definitely up there, but the number 1 spot is actually going to go to Blackbeard. And honestly, there are a plethora of reasons that Luffy would have to kill this character, and I'll go ahead and list them off. The first of which is just going to be symbolism. Blackbeard's name is Blackbeard. His devil fruit that is most associated to him is the Yami Yami no Mi, which is about darkness. I mean, the character is basically the anti-Luffy. He is the darkness to Luffy's light. Number 2, it's very likely that he might actually be the ultimate big bad of the series. Not saying that he's evil in the sense that he wants to just subjugate and control everyone, but there's a possibility that he could take out Im himself and then go up against Luffy in terms of changing the world in the way that they see fit. And I think a lot of One Piece fans can get on board with this, as they draw a lot of parallels between Luffy and Blackbeard's journey, but at the same time they see a distinct difference and feel that Blackbeard could be the final villain of the One Piece story. So the next reason as to why Luffy might kill Blackbeard is going to be fairly simple, and that is like a Kainu in the sense that it's about revenge. I don't know if Luffy necessarily knows the role that Blackbeard played leading up to Ace's death, but ultimately Blackbeard did rob Ace of his freedom, which ultimately led to the events of Marineford and the deaths of hundreds if not thousands of people, as well as Ace himself. And to expound a little bit more hypothetically on the idea of Luffy killing Blackbeard for the sake of revenge, a lot of fans do believe that if Shanks is to die before the series is done, that he is very likely to die by Blackbeard's hands. And if that does happen, then that does open up more of a reason for Luffy to kill him. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I don't believe that we ever had an actual reason or an actual goal for Blackbeard as to why he's doing all the things that he's doing, but seeing as how this character has had a few references and links to the character of Rocks, then it's possible that he might even be carrying on the dream of Rocks, where he himself seeks the goal of being the new ruler of the world. And if that is the case, following Im's defeat, he would be the next big villain against the concept of freedom, and that would also put him at odds with Luffy, who is apparently the sun god Nika, the paragon of freedom within the One Piece world. So there you have it, guys. Those are 3 characters I think that could die at the hands of Luffy. Ultimately, I don't think that Luffy is the killer type. I don't believe that in the end he will have killed anyone, as he's one of those characters that you want to keep his hands clean, unless it has something to do with eating food or just making fun. But it is possible, because Oda says that Luffy doesn't need to kill people, but he never said that Luffy won't kill people. So now I know that we've seen some form of redemption when it comes to a lot of the characters that Luffy has fought in the past. And as Oda said himself, the act of being defeated can change someone in the One Piece world. The only difference I see here is that when it comes to someone like Imsama, when it comes to someone like Blackbeard, these characters would not care about being defeated as long as their goals are met. And given the amount of power that these 2 characters could have over the freedom of the people of the One Piece world, it might just be that Luffy is the perfect person to hand them their eventual deaths, if that's where Oda wants to go. So there you have it, guys and gals. Those are the 3 characters I believe could die at Luffy's hands if anyone ever does within the One Piece world. The least likely, coming in at number 3, is going to be Fleet Admiral Kainu. The second least likely is going to be Imsama himself, and the most likely is going to be Blackbeard. So let me know in the comment section down below if you agree or disagree with this list, or if you have any other characters who could die at Luffy's hands. But that is all for this video. If you guys enjoyed it and made it this far, please be sure to like and share. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe for more One Piece related content. Once again, John here from AFA. Thank you again for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video.